notice some moments ago I sent to your WhatsApp groups some links, right? And they are basically Google documents. And what we're going to do is to sort out some groups right now. And we're going to be working in pairs, all right? For this exercise and for this dynamic as well. So let me see how many of, okay, fantastic, for team, okay? Just as I had planned. Well, so as you can see right now, we are 14, well, I mean 15 with me, but 14 students. And to your WhatsApp groups, I have sent 7 different Google documents. If you go and check it out, it says first, second group, third group, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. All right, so what I'm gonna do right now is, as I said, to sort out the class, and we're going to make some groups, all right? And these groups are going to be composed of 2 different persons, okay? And we're going to be working, as I say, in pairs in order to write down essays for the first task of the writing section, all right? And that is what we're going to do. So let me sort it out right now. I'm gonna, of course, we're going to split this into, all right, there you are. I'm gonna create 7. Great. Awesome, great. There you are. So I have already sorted out the groups, and this is what we're going to do, all right? Before I send you to your groups and your partners are already assigned there, we're going to read and listen to, of course, material, because if you remember, this essays basically go about summarizing 2 different information sources. So of course, first of all, we need to receive those information sources. So before we get into the breakout rooms, let me share my screen with you, and let us read and listen together to the topic, all right, the topics for our essay, okay? So please let me show you this. And as I said, after we finalize with this, that is to say the reading passage and the listening passage, we're going to be splitting the class into different groups, and you're going to be working in pairs. And as I said, you have to come out with 1 essay per group, okay? That is what we're going to be doing tonight. Well, anyways, before we do that, let us start with the material, okay? So let's start. Here we are. Well, if you remember, yesterday's class, 3 minutes in order to read a passage, that in this case is going to be this one, all right? I'm going to paste it to the WhatsApp group, don't worry. And you have 3 minutes to read this passage, okay? So I'm going to paste it here to this group, and I'm going to paste it here to this other group. There you are. Awesome. So please, dear students, all of you, start reading this passage, okay? I'll give you your 3 minutes. Here's the chronometer. Awesome. Here we are. Well, so please, all of you, start, please. Oh, I'm gonna create one more time. Give me a second. Here. This will be 3 minutes. Okay, so please, all of you, start reading your passage that is in your WhatsApp groups now. Well, there you are. Your 3 minutes are over, and now it's time for us to listen to the lecture on the same topic. But if you remembered yesterday's class, then you'll also have in mind that this lecture, although it will be discussing the same topic, it is going to offer a completely different view, right? So please have that in mind, and don't forget to take your notes. That is very important, as you note. Well, let us start listening, okay?
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
Globalization is a pretty hot topic, right? And for good reason. It's contentious, not the kind of thing everybody agrees about. It's hard to say that globalization is necessarily a good thing. There are a number of ills that have come hand in hand with the changes we've seen. First, I want to stress the danger of reliance on the global market. It may help keep competition healthy, sure, but when countries are so economically interconnected, crashes and recessions cause a wave of problems, and in more than just the country where it starts. Take the 2008 financial crisis, for instance, which was set off by problems in the U.S., but it spiraled out to a number of countries in Europe and elsewhere too. And of course, the second thing I should bring up is one you may have thought more about. It's something a little closer to home. When we send work offshore to other countries that can produce or just work for cheaper, then we no longer have those jobs in our own country. For example, most TVs sold in the U.S. were used to be made here, but nowadays, well, we buy them all over from other countries. When the U.S. opened trade with Mexico, our TV manufacturers closed their U.S. plants and moved to Mexico, where they could find cheaper labor. What happened to the workers at those U.S. plants? Many had to be laid off. And finally, as for the environmental benefits, well, that's a bit suspect. After all, have we seen our environmental problems go away as the global economy has grown? Far from it. These countries that can manufacture cheaply and export goods, they create astronomical air pollution. Global trade encourages cheap production, and cheap production is often environmentally harmful.
Summarize the points made in the lecture you just heard, explaining how they cast doubt on points made in the reading.
There you are. Well, so where are we? Awesome. Great. So I'm gonna stop this. Awesome. So we are right now 16 people, which means that we're gonna have, as I told you, 8 different groups in this case, right? I have problems with my internet. Yes. Natalia says she has some trouble with her internet. Couldn't listen. Right. Well, I guess we'll have to listen one more time. Did somebody have some troubles with the listening as well? Some more people?
Teacher,
Yes?
I didn't have problems with the internet, but I have problems in getting to the WhatsApp to read the lecture. So give me 1 minute, please. I'm restarting my cell phone and starting again, please. Thank you.
Oh, yes. No, my pleasure. Okay, that's fine. Well, so as you do that, and given that some of you are saying that you had some troubles with your internet, don't worry, comprehensible. Let us listen one more time, okay, before we start, okay, dear students, so that we can all have the same understanding of the passage, right? Very good. So let us try to listen again. I think that everybody is going to appreciate it anyways, right? So okay, so as I was mentioning, you have in the WhatsApp group, as one of your classmates said, the reading passage, and that is great, right? You can read it. And remember that, by the way, dear students, this passage is going to be available for you while you write down your essay. So even if you didn't read it at the beginning, you can reread it later on, because as I say, in the actual exam, this appears, right? During the 20 minutes you have for writing down your essay, this is available for you to read it one more time if you want, okay? So let us listen one more time to the lecture, okay? And then we're going to start writing down our essays, all right? So please let us listen one more time to this lecture and try to take notes, all right, of it. Let's go.
Now listen to part of a lecture on the topic you just read about.
Globalization is a pretty hot topic, right? and for good reason. It's contentious, not the kind of thing everybody agrees about. It's hard to say that globalization is necessarily a good thing. There are a number of ills that have come hand in hand with the changes we've seen. First, I want to stress the danger of reliance on the global market. It may help keep competition healthy, sure, but when countries are so economically interconnected, crashes and recessions cause a wave of problems, and in more than just the country where it starts. Take the 2008 financial crisis, for instance, which was set off by problems in the U.S., but it spiraled out to a number of countries in Europe and elsewhere too. And of course, the second thing I should bring up is one you may have thought more about, something a little closer to home. When we send work offshore to other countries that can produce or just work for cheaper, then we no longer have those jobs in our own country. For example, most TVs sold in the U.S. used to be made here, but nowadays, well, we buy them all over from other countries. When the U.S. opened trade with Mexico, our TV manufacturers closed their U.S. plants and moved to Mexico, where they could find cheaper labor. What happened to the workers at those U.S. plants? Many had to be laid off. And finally, as for the environmental benefits, well, that's a bit suspect. After all, have we seen our environmental problems go away as the global economy has grown? Far from it. These countries that can manufacture cheaply and export goods, they create astronomical air pollution. Global trade encourages cheap production, and cheap production is often environmentally harmful.
Summarize the points made in the lecture you just heard, explaining how they cast doubt on points made in the reading.
Great. There you go. Well, I hope that you have managed to listen this time. Okay. And well, fantastic. So now that we have listened to this lecture, remember anyways that this passage, that is to say the reading passage, will at every point be available for you to consult it if you want during your 20 minutes you have for writing the essay. So you can read this as many times as you want. Okay. The reading passage, I mean. Fantastic. All right. So as I was telling you, we're going to divide the class right now into different groups. But before I do that, let me explain what we are going to be doing. So as you remember, dear students, this is a task that you have to complete in 20 minutes. Now, as we are going to be working in pairs, we're going to reduce that time to half of it. That is to say, we're going to try to write down these essays in 50 minutes. All right. That is going to be our timing. And well, what we're going to do is, as I say, we're going to write down essays. All of us are going to write down essays. You're going to work in pairs. And as you can see in the WhatsApp group, there are some links, right? And all of them are Google documents. So if you get into one of these links, let's say the first one, many of them are already used. That is to say, other students have written their essays here. But anyways, what you have to do is, if you find out that in your Google documents, there is an essay already there, well, scroll down a little bit, right? And start from the next page, right? That is what you have to do. Well, here, you're going to be writing down. And here you can work in pairs. That is to say, two of you are going to get into the same Google document, and you're going to be working together. You're going to get into your breakout rooms, and you're going to decide, all right, by yourselves, how you're going to collaborate, right? You're going to say, well, I'm going to write down the introduction, and one of you is going to say, but I'm going to write down the body, but I'm going to write down this and this, so that you can also have some communication, right? That I think is important as well in these classes. So once you get into your breakout room with one of your classmates, start to dialogue a little bit, okay? Talk to you, have a conversation and discuss. Who's going to write down the introduction, the body, and of course, if you finalize, for example, the introduction, and your classmate continues writing down the body, help him, right? Say, I'm going to write down this part of the body. Help me, let me help you. You collaborate together, okay? What I want here is that you get used to writing, and of course, as I say, that you have the opportunity to have an experience with this, because after we finish this class, I'm going to be giving you a lot of exercises to practice by yourself during this weekend, and you're going to be able to practice this by yourself, okay? But this is what we're going to do, okay? I think it's very clear, right? I'm going to separate the class right now into works of two different integrants, and you have to discuss by yourself who's going to write down the introduction, the body, and I'm going to give you, as I say, 50 minutes to write down the essay, And when we finalize, we're going to come back here to the general meeting and we're going to review the essays, right? Of course, we're going to have some personalized feedback of what you have been doing, okay? Well, let us start with that then. And I'm gonna say the groups, who composes what group, and I'm gonna give you your classmates, friend. Okay, 8 groups, great, awesome. More people are getting into it, okay. So we have to recreate a group one more time. I'm gonna do that, recreate 8 groups, yes. Awesome, I think we're done. Well, there you are. 15 groups. Oh no, I think that we just need to. Okay, we create 7 groups. Awesome. Well, these are the groups, okay? Lucía Manrique and Paulina Riera, Ariel Vázquez y Natalia Barza, Guadalupe Céspedes y Juliana Castañeda, Alexander Beizaga and Angeline Romina, César Cáceres y Cristóbal Neveu, Alejandro Beltrán, Eric Torrico, y Nathalie Nair y Sofia Rodriguez. Okay, those are going to be the groups. So I'm going to right now open the breakout rooms, get into your breakout rooms and discuss with your partner. Okay, I'm gonna give you like 3 minutes to discuss. Who's gonna write down the introduction, who's gonna write down the body. And then, as I say, I'm gonna start with the, but you know, in order to avoid that, I guess, you know, the time we're gonna have to discuss the introduction, the body. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say who's going to write down the introduction and who's going to write down the body. And of course, if you want, you can change it with your partner, okay? But listen to the first group. The first group, that is Lucia and Paulina. Lucia, you're going to write down the introduction, and Paulina the body, okay? In group number 2, Ariel, you're going to write down the introduction, and Natalia the body. Room 3, Guadalupe, you're going to write down the introduction, and Juliana the body. Room 4, that is Alexander and, oh, it's just Alexander. What happened? Well, Alexander is going to write down the entire essay, I guess, because he's the only one who's alone for some reason. Room 5, or the group 5, Cesar, you're going to write down the introduction. Cristobal, you're going to write down the body. Alejandro, the introduction. Eric, the body, excuse me. And finally, Nathalie, you are going to write down the introduction, and Sophia, the body, okay, in your group. So last thing, listen to what Google document you have to get into. So Lucia and Paulina, you have to get into the first link. There is a link, right, that says, let me show you. Okay, more people are getting out. That's not good. Well, so let me show you. Here you have first, right? Second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh. So I'm gonna say right now who goes to what Google document, okay? So the first group, that is, where are we? Lucia y Paulina. Please, you're going to go to the first link, okay? The one that says first. Ariel and Natalia, you're going to be the second group, and you're gonna have the second link, okay? The one that says second group or second. Guadalupe and Juliana, third link, okay? The one that says third group or third, doesn't matter. Alexander, you're gonna have the fourth link, the one that says the one that says fourth. Cesar and Cristobal, you're gonna have the one that says number 5 or 5th. And Alejandro and Eric, you're gonna be the 6th group, okay? You're gonna have the 6th link, the one that says 6th. And finally, Natalie and Sophia, you are going to be the 7th, okay? So please get into the link that says 7, okay? Very good. Is that understandable? Does somebody have questions about what we have to do, or everything is clear so we can start? Questions? Ariel, yes, please.
I couldn't hear so well my link.
Okay, yes, you're gonna be with Natalia in the second link, the one that says second group. That is going to be yours.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, my pleasure. Any other question, dear students, or everything is clear so you know what to do? Questions? Everybody has its group clear. What link you have to get into? Yes, it's clear. Yeah, fantastic. I think it's clear. Anyways, you can call me in the groups. Okay, so I have already launched the groups. Get into and start writing your essay, okay? Because your 50 minutes are going to start. All right, get into and start writing. Okay, get into, please. Great, you can also join your students. Natalia, Angeline, Alexander, you can get into as well to your groups. Okay. Angeline, could you please, do you remember who was your partner so that I can reassign you to your group? Or do you remember what number of group you were, your Angeline? Yeah, dear Angeline, can you listen to me? Angeline, yes? Can you listen to me, Angeline? Sorry, teacher, for this problem.
Teacher,
No, it's okay.
I have problems. Sorry. It's so
Yes?
difficult.
No, it's okay. Don't worry. Do you remember what group you were, Angeline? What number of group you were?
No, I couldn't hear
All right.
anything.
No, don't worry. It's okay. So I'm going to assign you with Alexander because Alexander doesn't have a group. Okay. So you're going to be his partner. So when you get into your room, ask Alexander what number of group you are and get into that link. Okay. I think they are number 4. He's number 4. No, but nonetheless, ask him. Okay, when you get into.
Okay, teacher.
Very good. So you're going to get with Alexander. So please join him. Okay, and ask him what you have to do, and you can decide with him who's going to write down what part.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Hi, Alexander. How are you? Had some troubles with your internet? Alexander, can you listen to me? Dear Alexander?
Yes, teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I am still at work.
Oh, yeah.
But right now I go to my home.
All right. Very good. Great.
Okay.
So, well, don't worry. It happens. Well, so try to get into your link anyways and try to write down something. And I'm going to leave your group for the end so that while I review the essays of your classmates and the other groups, you can write down yours. Okay?
Okay, teacher. And group number 4, right?
Yes, exactly. I'm going to assign you right now. There, you have one partner there. I hope she has advanced something and you can just collaborate her. Let me do it, okay?
Okay.
Right now.
Okay.
Let me just assign you to room number 4. Okay. Angeline is there, so please go and talk to her. And if she has done something, help her, all right?
Okay, teacher. Thank you.
My pleasure. All right. Great. I think that everybody has come back till this point. So great. What did you think about your experience working in groups, right? Performing on this task, very interesting, right? The time you receive this actually very much similar to the one you're going to have for yourself on the exam. That remember you have 20 minutes in order to write it by yourself with no couple or with no, let's say, with no collaboration of any other partner. But and this time you were working in pairs and you had 15 minutes to write down this essay. Well, Now that we have finalized with that, let us have some feedback for all of you, okay? And as I say, don't worry, because I'm going to give you, after at the end of this class, a lot of material for you to practice by yourself during this weekend. So you're also going to have the experience to write down these essays by yourself. That is to say, just one person per essay. But anyways, let's start. Okay, the first group, let's see what the first group did, what they wrote. Okay, let's read together, right? And if you see something, you can, of course, turn on your microphone and comment on what they have done, all right? But anyways, let's see. It says, the reading extract leads off with the topic of globalization and how this phenomenon helped in a positive way to different countries. Like this word, phenomenon, very good. Nonetheless, very good. In the lecture, it is said that because so many countries are so well interconnected, the fall of one could damage other ones as well. I'm going to expose both views. Here, my only thing would be, remember this, when you write down this introductory, this transition phrase, I'm going to expose both views. You have to finalize it with 2 points, right? Or two or column, because you are saying, now I'm going to talk about this, right? And all this is the explanation you are mentioning here. I'm going to expose both views, right? But fantastic introduction. Firstly, in the reading passage, it's claimed that the common site of globalization of developing nations have their costs for living and have their advantages because workers can produce money and the world is developing. Good. Nevertheless, in the presentation lecture, one of the workers live near of the home countries, okay, produce and were cheaper, for example, okay. So here this, for example, it wouldn't be well written because, for example, will be like a connector. So in this case, you have to write down something like this, like, for example, comma, right? For example, and here the buy, I guess is the purchase, right? The purchase of TVs, I guess, of the TVs, right? The purchase of TVs, and bringing them bring them to other countries such as Mexico, okay? And bringing them to other countries such as Mexico. Very good. So remember this connector, for example, is a connector, okay? So when you're going to use this, for example, you have to finalize the sentence you had previously and to use it as a connector, always following the idea of that connectors, of course, go after a period, as you can see here, and before a comma, okay? Remember that. For example, it's a connector that you have to use after a period and before a comma, all right? Very good. Secondly, in the reading excerpt, it's pointed out that globalization helped in environmental aspects, such as pressuring governments to make healthier and safer choices about the environmental damage. Good. The listening claims notwithstanding that these alliance between countries is not helpful at all for manufacturing cheaply and export goods creates more pollution. Okay, very good. Finally, in the reading selection, it is stated that this phenomenon could help business to create goods at lower prices among countries which do not let prices climb excessively. On the other hand, in the presentation, it is mentioned that having those lower prices because of cheaper production could be seriously harmful for the environment. Awesome. I think this is a very good reading essay. I congratulate this group. It was fantastic. Let's see how many words they wrote. They got. Let me see. I'm going to open here a word counter. Sorry. 231 words. Fantastic. Remember that you have to write down at least 150. So this is exceeding that quantity by far. So very good. This was a fantastic example, okay, of how to write down this essay. Very good. Group number one. Number two, let's see what the number two did. All right, let's see what this group has done. It's got a lot of pages. This one, globalization. Don't worry if you have not managed to finalize the essay as the first group. We are practicing, so don't worry. We are, as I told you, when I started to practice myself, I was able to write down 70 words by myself, just one person, right, in 20 minutes. So it's possible to exponentially improve your level at this part. And I think that by practice and by typing a lot in your computer, you can improve this very easily, okay? So don't worry. Introduction. The reading extra leads up with the benefits of globalization, and it says that globalization has done some positive things to the world, like linking the information very quickly and easily. In other aspects, for example, in economics, globalization has improved the development of countries and also has improved the commercial area between countries. Nonetheless, the discussion says a totally different thing. It talks about the negative thing about globalization. For example, the danger in the global market of competition, the increase of imports, also the increase in pollution, and the negative effect on the labor market. Okay, good. This is certainly an introduction. In this case, it's not totally following the structure. Remember that I recommended you try to follow it this time, like word by word, because there is a reason why the connectors have been included, because they are the ones that express contrast between these topics. Nonetheless, the introduction, as it has been written, I think that works very well. It's very much successful. Here, nonetheless, I guess that my recommendation would be, given that you have not finalized here the body, right? I guess that it was because you paid too much attention to this introduction. And the introduction should be super brief. The body must be extensive, but the introduction must be super, super, super general. So maybe something that you could improve here would be to reduce the quantity of words and to simplify your summary here in the introduction to make it super general, and then to explain those points that you are mentioning here. For example, you are talking about very specific things, right? Economics, development of nations, countries, and all these things, you have mentioned them in the body. That I think is the part of the essay for you to expand on these points that were specifically made in the reading and the listening, but very good. Firstly, in the reading passage, it is claimed that people who live in developing nations can live or survive with less money because the cost of the goods are cheaper. Okay, nevertheless, in the listening presentation, okay, they are following here the structure, very good. The recession in a country affects directly to other countries. For example, here, for example, here, USA affects the European countries. Good. Well, so as I told you, here my only recommendation would be try to make this shorter, try to reduce here the quantity of words and to make your summary more concise, and apply all those specifics and comment and expand them right here in the body, okay? But apart from that, fantastic. Don't worry that you have not finalized the essay. As I said, we are practicing, okay? And you can improve exponentially, trust me. But apart from that, fantastic. Okay, very good.
Excuse me.
Yes,
Sorry.
Natalia, tell me.
How should we have to like finalize the introduction?
The introduction? Okay, good question. Yes, and that is a detail that I was forgetting. Thank you very much, Natalia. The introduction should be finalized like this. I'm going to, something like this, proceed to expose both views now, something like this. This is a transition phrase, right? I'm going to proceed to expose both views now. This is something like a sentence that marks the end of your introduction and also, of course, precedes the the beginning of your body, right? So every single introduction should finalize like this with a transition phrase that, as I say, you can, of course, modify and use the wording you may find more attractive, but try to include this, okay? Very good observation, Natalia.
Thanks.
My pleasure. There you are. Let's continue. Word number 3. All right, let's see what number 3 has done. Okay, here we are. The reading extra leads up with the idea that globalization has brought several benefits for all the world, and the reading also gives us 3 reasons and examples of these benefits. Nonetheless, in the lecture, it is said that this might not be liked, and shows us the other side of the reason given by the reading. Fantastic. This is a very good introduction. The only thing, again, I will expose both sides deeper, right? Something like that. This could have been, let's say the final or the cherry of this introduction, but and to make it more aesthetic, a little bit deeper, and to gain more words as well. I will expose both sides a little bit deeper, right? But fantastic introduction. First, the lecturer points out different advantages about globalization, such as commercial relationship. Here there's something wrong. Relationship, yes. Competition and environmental benefits. The lecturer argues that globalization has been enormous. Here as well, there's a mistake, enormous. advantage for humanity, helping lowering the cost of less developing countries. Okay, developed countries, I guess here, developed, right? Desarrollados, developed countries, and creating commercial relationships between many countries, inhibiting the entrance of new cultures. Okay, very good. Furthermore, the teacher demonstrates some disadvantages such as economic crisis, cease of labor hands, and environmental damage. Okay. All right. So what I see is that you here have separated, right? Like this is what the reading passage said, and this is what the lecture is. Yes. Okay. Furthermore, the teacher demonstrates some disadvantages such as economic crisis, cease of labor hand, and environmental damage. The teacher arguments. Here's argues. Okay. When you say argumenta, the teacher argues that globalization has also harmed humanity by creating economic crisis due to the interconnection between countries, and has also harmed the environment due to the production of air pollution. Okay, so I guess that in this case, as I say, you have separated, like this is what the reading passage said in favor of the of globalization, and this is what the listening said against it. Nonetheless, remember that, well, following the template, of course, this is valid, okay? Don't misinterpret me. This is a valid manner to write down your essay. Nonetheless, following the template that we discussed yesterday, this should be unified. All this will represent just one paragraph, because in this case, and to this point, you're talking about what the reading passage said in favor of globalization in its first point. And here you are mentioning what the listening said against globalization in its first point, right? So I would say that this would be just one paragraph. And here you have to write down a second paragraph discussing the second reason or the third reason. But anyways, very good. Finally, in the reading section, it is stated that globalization has benefits with the environment because countries that depend on others will see less pollutants in their environment. On the other hand, here you got it very well. In the presentation, it is mentioned that this is not true because the countries that are making the manufacturing are going to be more contaminated, and this will also affect the world. This is fantastic. This is a very good example of how to write down the third paragraph. Very good. So here, my other recommendation, as I told you, would be when you're writing this first paragraph, you are talking about the first point made in the reading and the first point made in the listening. Therefore, these two paragraphs that you divided will be just one paragraph, right? Following this structure. But as I say, of course, if you do this, it's fine anyways. But as I told you, try to follow the structure. I think that in this case, the structure that we offer here is fantastic. So if you follow it, you are going for the safest technique or the safest approach for this exam. Okay, but fantastic. Let's continue. Okay, the fourth group I'm going to let it for the end because they had some troubles with their internet. Okay, so they can continue writing if they want. Let's see what they have here. All right. The reading extra leads up with leads us to the reading extra leads us to to the globalization thing and the benefits. Here's the benefits of the application in the economy of different regions of the planet. Fantastic. The main topic refers to the modernization of the commercial relationships. Okay, thus allows the this is a good connector away good. Thus allows the different nations to develop its production in cheaper ways. Also, globalization creates a competitiveness advantage that would otherwise, here this is not necessarily this comma, advantages that would otherwise be missing. Okay, here the transition phrase. I will expose both of these perspectives a bit further, something like that, right? One of the disadvantages of globalization is that it produces less work for the people in the countries, since there is more demand. Demanda here is from, right? First, this is Spanish, demand from abroad. This is due to the fact that foreign products have cheaper prices, which generates more demand. Okay. Okay, good. So I guess this is like what I told you. This will be just one paragraph, I guess, because remember that when you meditate about the structure that we yesterday discussed, we said that what we have to do in paragraphs is to mention the first point made in the reading passage and to contrast that point with the first point made in the listening passage against the topic. So in this case, I guess that this would not be necessary. And in this case, you have to unite these two paragraphs like this, right? And this would constitute, as I told you, the first paragraph discussing the reading passage and its position in favor of globalization, and the listening passage against globalization, right? This way you'll be contrasting things. And then you have to write down a second and a third paragraph discussing the other points. The second thing that the reading passage said in favor of globalization, and the third thing, or excuse me, the second thing that the listening passage said against globalization, right? But apart from that, it's great. Nevertheless, in listening, professor talks about the danger of globalization, mainly because the risk of the markets to create crashes, and recessions like the 2018 crisis, the crisis started, I guess, in the US, but extended as well to other countries and countries like this. But fantastic, anyways. Also, the globalization creates environmental problems, good, because cheaper labor makes more pollution. By the way, whenever you use because, there's never the necessity to write down comma, okay? Because it's a connector that, as I say, doesn't require you to use comma before it, like this. This is not necessary. Because always goes after a word that doesn't utilize comma, okay? It's not necessary. When you're gonna use because, commas preceding this connector, because it's a connector, right? It is are not actually necessary. As I say, commas are not necessary when you're writing because. But fantastic, anyways. As I say, very good essay. Well written. And my only recommendation would be to do that, as I say, to write down these points contrasting both information sources in one paragraph, right? Very good. And so with the sixth group, we're about to finish. Give me 1 second. I want to write down to my other group that I want to start 5 minutes delayed. Give me 1 second. There you are. Let's continue. The sixth group, let's see what they did. Right, here we are. All right, oh, this is the essay. Fantastic. A lot of words. My God. Wow, very good. How many words you have written, by the way? I'm very curious. You were inspired, guys, tonight. Let's see. Oh my gosh, 400 words. Very good. Okay, well, I guess that you were very much productive, as I say. Let's see what you did. The reading extra lets off referring to the definition of what globalization is and the anticipated benefits of it. As a consequence of the commercial relationships between distant people easier than before, just like transportation and communication. Nonetheless, in the listening presentation, the professor states that globalization is contagious and unveiled a number of dangers due to the reliance on it. I'm going to proceed to expose both views. Fantastic. Great. Very, very good. Firstly, one of the main benefits of globalization is that the developing nations can survive with less money. And that is because the production is less cheaper than before, okay? Resulting in a process of creating business with other countries, and in the process growing as a nation, economically and socially. Here is economically and socially. Very good. Also, the process of globalization. Okay, but yes. All right. I see what you have done here. So as I'm seeing, is like you have written down 3 paragraphs discussing the 3 first points made here. Like this is the first point that the reading passage made in favor of globalization. This is the second point made in favor of globalization, and this is the third point made in favor of globalization, right? And here you wrote 3 other paragraphs discussing the let's say the counter arguments, right, against globalization. All right, this is another approach. As I say, this is valid, but of course this doesn't follow the structure that we discussed yesterday, because the structure would be to unite, for example, this, that would be the first reason the listening gave against globalization, and to unite it with this, because here you will be contrasting things, as you can see, right? Because here you are saying the positive things that the reading passage said, and you contrast that with what the listening said against it. And the same would be, and the same would apply here for the other passages like this, for example. Here, this will be united to the second paragraph, and this would be together like this. Like this, like that, for example. Well, anyways, but as I say, the essay, as I can see, with regard to how it's written, it's fantastic. Not everything is perfect as it could, because one of the main problems with the globalization process is that big nations that use another developing country to produce anything has the disadvantages of not having the same job in the main country. For example, okay, this is what I told you before. For example, it's a connector. So when you use it, always use it as a connector. Precede the connector, for example, with a period, and always place it before a comma, right? If an enterprise decides that it's cheaper to take their factories to another developing country, all the workers will lose their jobs. Fantastic. The process of globalization leads to competition between nations, and that forces every country to develop better products. Of course, those countries that can keep our step aside. Another big disadvantage is that if a country has problems manufacturing products because of internal problems, all the other countries that buy national products will have, I guess here's national products, right? We have big problems, and that would lead to worldwide economic problems. Great. Another advantage of globalization is that nations can create more and easier world relationships, leading them to peace treatments so that they are less likely to be in war in the future. Finally, a lot of nations like to use developing countries to manufacture new products, like cheaper overall, but the biggest problem with that way of doing things is that they produce a lot of pollution. Great. In conclusion, the globalization process has some advantages and disadvantages. Only time will say the first is good for our economy. And it will lead to, okay, great. So even here, you even here included a conclusion, right? And as I told you, in yesterday's template, this was not considered. So as I say, I mean, I cannot say that this is wrong because it's fine. I mean, as I say, it's another structure, it's another template, but anyways, it's good, it works. What would be my recommendation? Well, every single time I have taken the exam, I have gone for the structure I showed you yesterday. But of course, you are completely free to use this structure if you like it, to write down 3 paragraphs defining the positive arguments in favor of the position, and then to write down another 3 arguments or another 3 paragraphs discussing the counter arguments, right, against globalization. You are free to do so, and I think it works. It's certainly a good essay. So if you're going to follow this structure later on the exam, fantastic. But as I say, if you're going to follow the structure that we discussed yesterday, remember, is what the reading passage said in favor of the topic, and then you contrast that in the same paragraph with what the listening passage said against the topic, right? That is how we learned it yesterday. But anyways, very good. Don't have anything else to say. Very, very good. 7th. We're about to finish. Don't worry, guys. So sorry for having you here more time. The reading extra leads up with the idea globalization is becoming the world into an interactive zone due to growing economic and cultural relationships between different regions of the world, and it has produced several benefits. Nonetheless, in the lecture, it is said that this phenomenon is causing a completely different result. This can be observed in distinct areas. I'm going to proceed to expose both views. Fantastic. Here, the only thing, 2 points, right? Or column, as you prefer to name it. Firstly, in the reading passage, it is claimed that due to globalization, modern transportation, and electric communication have made, right? Because it's plural. Yes. Have made commercial relationships between distant people easier than ever before. And here, this is for example, here, you have a different sentence, right? The word is rapidly becoming a single interactive sum. This, in my opinion, should be used as a separate sentence, because this word this sentence or paragraph, not paragraph, this sentence or expression stands by itself as just one independent sentence, right? But as I say, maybe it's a matter of preference, but in my opinion, this will be just one sentence. This phenomenon has brought several anticipated benefits. Nevertheless, in the listening presentation, it is noted that globalization has danger from the alliance of global market competition. Fantastic. And notice that here they are using commas, right? Quotation commas. In this case, they are using to remark this word. And all those devices, by the way, they are students to use semicolon, quotation commas, I don't know, semicolons, or for example, slashes, any other literary device you can use in your essay, use it if you want. And if you know how to use it, fantastic. Of course, that is value and it sums up some points in your favor, okay? Secondly, in the reading excerpt, it is pointed out that globalization allows developing nations to use their low-cost living. This passage claims notwithstanding that the industries of the nations create enormous pollution. Great. Finally, in the reading selection, it is stated that globalization has cultivated a mutual reliance between countries that puts pressure on governments to make safer and healthier choices. Great. Here, 2 points. On the other hand, the presentation has mentioned that it has caused several problems, such as internal crashes, in the US referring to expansions of conventional TVs, which diversify. Well, this is fantastic. And I'm sure that this actually meets the minimum quantity of words. All right, yes, of course, fantastic essay, okay? Nothing else to say. It's very, very good. Okay, very good, dear students. And last group, the fourth one. As I said, they had some troubles with their internet, so I guess that's what they did. All right, I think that they didn't have the opportunity to work on this, but don't worry, okay, dear students from the group number 4. I'm gonna, okay, so to look at your WhatsApp groups right now. I'm sending something that you appreciate very much. This is a free practice for you, free resources and material to practice this writing section by yourself during this weekend, okay? So you can just get into these YouTube channels and websites that I have gathered, and you're going to be able to practice this by yourself, use your chronometer, use your Word, and activate the option of self-correction, so that when you're writing, nothing tells you here you're writing wrong, right? Because you're going to get used to that. And try to activate that option, and you're going to practice very much comfortably. All right, fantastic. We're going to stop here. I think your essays were fantastic. I'm very much amazed and surprised of your quality, and I just congratulate you. Okay, to all of you, you have done a fantastic job. All right, so I'm going to take your assistance very quickly, and please, dear students, help me with the traditional poll, okay, that we always feel. You help me a lot with that. Great. If you have any question, please feel free to express it, okay? As I take your assistance. Let's go.
Teacher, the class recordings will be always available for us?
Yeah, certainly, Natalie. They're always going to be available, so you can just rewatch them as much as you can. But nonetheless, just in case something goes wrong at some point with YouTube or something, try to download them, right? Because you can download these videos. So in your YouTube channel, try to download those classes that you consider to be important. I guess more importantly, the theoretical classes, and save them for you in your PC. All right?
Okay, teacher, thank you.
My pleasure. So it's here present Guzman Guadalupe.
Present.
Thank you very much, Guadalupe. What about Natalie Anastasio?
Present.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Grados Lucia.
Present.
Thank you very much, Lucia. Reyes Camila, okay, she had some troubles tonight with her university, she told me. Paulina Jasmine.
Present, teacher.
Thank you very much, Paulina. And Alexander Christopher. Okay, Alexander was here, I remember him. Okay, so don't worry, Alexander, I got you. Got you covered. And finally, Melanie Natalia.
Present.
Thank you very much, Natalia. Luis Alejandro.
Present.
Thank you very much, Luis Alejandro. Cesar Augusto.
Yes, present.
Thank you very much, Cesar. What about Rodriguez Juliana?
Present.
Thank you very much. What about Shirley Karina? Angeline Romina?
Here, teacher, sorry for my internet.
No, thank you. No, don't worry, dear Angeline. It happens. We cannot control that. Don't worry. You can practice anyways through the practice, okay? Thank you very much. Anwar Josue. Cristóbal Ignacio. Gisela Maria.
Here, I'm Cristobal, here.
Okay, thank you very much, Cristobal. Fantastic. There you are. Gisela Maria. She was here. I remember her. Sofia Paulina.
Present.
Thank you very much, Sofia. Eric Gabriel.
Presente.
There you are. Ariel Eduardo. Ariel was here.
Present.
I remember him. Yes, there you are. Thank you very much, Ariel. And finally, Juan Martin Rojas. All right, I will. So thank you very much. Yes, Alexander, I got you. Don't worry, I got you. All right. So thank you very much for your responses, dear students. A pleasure to be with you tonight. I'm going to be seeing you tomorrow, okay, in order to, not tomorrow, but next week, in order to continue with the classes. And please try to practice during the weekend. And if you have any question, please don't worry and don't hesitate to get in touch with me, okay? Thank you very much. See you tomorrow. Oh, not tomorrow, next week. So sorry.
Thank you, teacher. You're
Bye, teacher.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
See you later.
Have a good